I'm speaking to you from our chapel today because of the stained glass window of the Good Shepherd right behind us. It's always been a favorite of mine, and this is Good Shepherd Sunday. This Jesus and I go way back. I came to know him as a child when he seemed as real to me as any other grown-up in my world. Only, unlike a disapproving teacher or an annoyed parent, I always felt this Jesus would love me no matter what. A real comfort to a little girl who sometimes felt like she strayed. These days, I often see children running right by the picture of David next to this Good Shepherd window. David with his fancy slingshot, they run right by him in order to see the shepherd with the lamb all snuggled in his arms, warm and safe. I guess we always want to be that lamb at any age. This image seems to be in our collective unconscious because Christians were not the first to use it by any means. In the Roman world, a shepherd carrying a sheep was a sign of philanthropy, an important virtue in Roman civic life. It was adopted by the early Christians because Jesus spoke of himself in these terms. To Roman Christians, the shepherd and lamb on the walls of ancient catacombs was something like a picture language, symbolizing new life in those long, dark and dank, narrow, underground hallways of death and decay. These days, the image seems to be less potent than that. Not so much a reminder of deliverance as a billboard for how to spend a lazy summer's day in the sheep meadow of Central Park just down the street from us. But of course, the days of sheep herding in the sheep meadow of Central Park are long gone. If the time-worn bricks of this old building we worship in could talk, they might teach us about the hardship of those days. As it is, each generation must invent stories of life gone by, and we often clean those days up. Truth is, the life of a shepherd is not now and never has been easy. Sheep may be beautiful from a distance, but they are as nasty as any other farm animal and more stupid than most of them. They require a lot of supervision and patience and forgiveness. And of course, we like to think of Jesus that way. In fact, we count on it. But Jesus used this shepherd imagery much more broadly than we tend to think of it. When he referred to himself as shepherd, he meant more than a kindly companion to guide us through life like some even more compassionate Dumbledore. When we look closely at this passage, for example, that John gives us today, we hear Jesus speaking of himself not as the familiar good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep, or even less, the shepherd who goes out to seek the lost lamb that Luke tells us about. Rather, in today's passage, Jesus uses two other shepherding images. He said, "The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. He calls his own by name and leads them out. He goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice." So here the sheep are not rescued after having strayed. Rather, they are called out of the comfort and security of the sheepfold in order to follow where the shepherd leads. Just as we are called to engage with the world outside our church walls. Jesus then mixes his metaphors a bit when he shows us another dimension of our relationship with him using these words. "I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture." In the time of Jesus, there was no door, as you would expect, to secure the opening to the sheepfold. Rather, the shepherd placed his body in the opening to protect the flock from predators sleeping there all night long. So we might think of Jesus as the gate that protects us from danger. But then notice he calls the sheep out. This is a much more active image than Luke's story of the lamb that is paralyzed by fear. Here we learn that we're meant to venture out of the comfort of the fold, to confront the hardships and dangers of the world. When we take the risks that come from discipleship, then we begin to find that abundant life our Lord talks about. So whether it is the good shepherd who searches for the lost sheep and bears it home, as depicted in our beautiful window, or the shepherd that goes before the sheep to lead the way, or the one who serves as the gate to keep predators away. All these images are about the saving activity of God. They speak to us about the lengths God will go to love us and to protect us, to call us, to strengthen us, and then send us out into the world. That is why the image of the shepherd is in the catacombs. Realizing that no matter what happened to them, God would intervene to deliver and save and redeem them was what gave courage to the early believers in the face of all the dangers they lived with every day, even death. And remembering this promise is how we live an Easter life. Living an Easter life is more than lounging in the sheep meadow on a beautiful afternoon or waiting till it is safe for us to come out of our houses and apartments only to return to familiar patterns of self-absorption. Easter is more than just a season of the church year. It is a way of life. It's a way of living that actively encounters the world for the sake of Christ and shares in his shepherding of the lost and the lonely, the grieving and the hungry, until we are filled with grace upon grace and our cup runs over with abundant life. That's what Easter is about. That is the life of discipleship, and it is a life worth living. God be with you.